You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Hey, Rifters, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, and review. Alan Lee is here today. Alan, say hello to the folks at home.
Hey, hello to the folks at home. Glad to be here as always. Just got out of bed. And, that's the life, right? Keith
Are you enjoying the Zoom shows, or do you miss the radio station?
I miss the radio station, but I've got used to the Zoom. And like I said, being lazy as I am, like I said, I just having my eggs right now, my breakfast, and I like to say I'm sitting in a comfortable chair at my writing desk here.
Yeah.
My new writing keyboard, which is it looks like a 1930s keyboard, but it's actually completely Bluetooth. That was kind of cool. So I'm sitting here very comfortable. So this part I love. Now, I prefer the station though.
Yeah, I do too. But I like the Zoom because the Zoom is fun for people who can't get to the station. But like I miss like just going to the station and like they're that intimate atmosphere, you know what I mean? And then we would talk before the show, you know what I mean? We would do the research and stuff. So
yeah, why don't you? I'll tell you what. Why don't you just do for the whole audience? Why don't you give them every fucking secret about the how this whole process is?
That's what we do. We sell secrets.
Yeah.
We sell secrets on the Zoom.
You know what?
My surgery went well. Thanks for asking.
Oh, how'd your surgery go?
Oh, it went well. You never like. I called and texted you on Tuesday night. I was like,
I didn't know because
I was like, Alan, I just want you to know if I die, I love you.
No.
You left me on red.
No, that's not true.
Holy Lord!
You had that blood clot.
It's
a blood clot.
Wait, what?
Blood clot?
No, it was a hydrocele.
Oh my gosh, that's fucked up. I thought it was a blood clot.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're well and alive, and you made it. I knew you would.
Yeah. The doctor said that it's such a rare surgery. He's only done 19 of them. And I was like, oh my God. He's like, yeah. And 2 of them are no longer with us.
You said that?
Yeah. I was like, holy Lord, that makes me feel scary.
Well,
10% failure rate. Love it.
Well, some of these doctors, they're sadists.
I think now that they kind of have to like be honest with you because like, you know what I mean?
Because they're like legal?
Yeah, I think legally they have to be honest with you.
Huh. Well.
All right. Well, we got a great show coming up. Our guest today, you've seen him on Comedy Central, Real Rob. He's also on that show. What's that show that you said you saw him in? Gutfilled. He's also a regular on Gutfilled. The great Jamie Lissow is going to be here, and he's going to riff with us. So I'm excited. He's at the Ontario Improv this weekend, so it was nice that we got him.
That's fantastic.
Because he's usually in Alaska, and he's like touring with Rob Schneider.
Yeah, and you performed there many times.
Ontario? I don't know about many times. I think 5 my entire career.
No, 5 is 5. That's
5 is 5. You know what I meant? I miss like doing Vegas. I want to do Vegas again. Remember when we went to Vegas? That was fun.
No, I'm planning on going to Vegas, but not for comedy. I'm going for the buffets.
Do you think the buffets have like strict like whatchamacallit, like with COVID, like the whole strictness?
No, they've stopped. And everyone walks up there. They don't have a mask. It's amazing. You should see this.
Yeah.
They don't. No, they're kind of like, because like I was talking to my friend, the thing about the danger of any buffet is that when you pick up that ladle or you pick up the spoon to put the food in, if you're not paying attention to your hand, say you have fried chicken or something, and you go back, sit down, you've touched a spoon that has been touched by 100 people, and it's all on your hands, the germs. So when you bite into that, people have gotten sick. They've gotten really sick from that because they didn't. Like one guy that reviews it, he actually puts on gloves like a doctor, like surgical gloves,
Mhm.
I'm all for that.
Yeah. Do you think that like I'm up for that too, but I think that people will forget to do that. You know what I mean?
It's up to it's an individual thing. They're not. Oh no, they're not mandated. Oh, you mean like you go, you got
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
you bring your own freaking gloves. They're not. They're saying, hey, we want you to come eat. You
Yeah.
get sick or something, screw you.
As long as you pay money to our establishment.
Well, yeah, it's that's called capitalism.
Oh man.
That's called the American way. You know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want people to come to your show and say, "Oh, we don't need to pay, and we don't need to wear gloves and shit." You know, I know you wouldn't like that.
A lot of people come to my show and they say, "Oh, I don't need to pay at all." Like, you know what I mean? Because like, here's the thing: when I first started, I did give out a lot of free tickets,
That's right.
but then like the older I got, I stopped doing it because I think people now are too I don't want to say cheap, but I think they're cheap to pay tickets because they expect something for free all the time. You know what I mean?
Oh, you mean the like entitlement, like the way
Yeah.
you grew up with. You think that you're entitled to stuff that normally we pay for.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say the whole audience is like that, but they're your audience. You gotta treat them right, man. You can't complain and you can't denigrate them, bugging them, and say, hey, it's not for free and all this. You gotta be the mellow self that you are. You can't go into that.
Jamie's here. Jamie's coming into the Zoom.
How you
All right,
doing?
guys, we're going to talk to Jamie Lissow right now via Zoom.
Lysol. That sounds like the spray.
He's,
What he said your last name like to spray that stuff that you spray your. Hi, hey, what's
hey,
going
Jamie, how's it going?
What's up, y'all?
on? I like
we
that. Oh,
we were arguing about how to say your last name. I said Lissow. Am I right?
So here's what's weird. It's Lissow,
Lisa. Oh,
see, I knew
but-
it. I knew that was going to happen.
but dude, maybe I've been saying it wrong. You know what I mean? I was on this radio show for 5 years with this guy,
uh,
and he called me Lissow, right? And so my mom would go, "Oh, you should tell the guy how to pronounce your name," and I was like, "Okay." And so I go, "Oh, hey, it's Lissow," and the guy was like, "Okay." Anyway, we're on with Jamie Lissow, and my mom was like, "You should tell him how to pronounce your name," and I was like, "Oh, I will." And I did it one more time, and then he just called me the wrong name for 5 years.
oh my God. That sounds like me because like one of my best friends is Angelo Zarukas, and for like 10 years I've been calling him Angelo Zazarkas.
That's the long.
which I think is better,
I like that sound. Yeah, thank you.
right?
I agree.
That's pretty good.
So Jamie, let's get the awkwardness out of the way. This is Alan Lee, the trusty sidekick.
What's up,
Thank you.
man?
Glad to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
And
Nice
I
to-
came running into you on because I watched your dry bar special, and I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. You're my new favorite comedian.
Come on, dude. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, like I thought it was so funny and so smart, and I really did enjoy it.
That's very nice of you, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So thank you so much for doing my podcast.
Yeah, man. Dude, that dry bar, for anybody that doesn't know what it is, so it's like, you obviously know, but for your listeners, it's like it's filmed in Salt Lake, outside of Salt Lake. It's like super Mormon.
Wow.
You have to be incredibly clean.
Mhm.
I mean, like, they send you a video that's like, you shouldn't even say like, "Oh my God," right? And they were like, you should. It was like really, and they were like, you can say whatever you want, but we're just trying to like help you out. That's what the crowd will like if you're cleaner. I was like, okay, I think I could do that. And so then we were on this call, and they said, "What do you want to call your special? Like, what do you want the name to be?" And it was like a bunch of people on the call, and I go, what if we call it Jamie Lissow Tries Not to Say Fuck? And they're like, "No, dude, we can't. That's ridiculous. It's crazy. You can't call it." And I go, "Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding." And they go, "What else can we call it?" And I go, "Could we call it, what if we call it, is it Mormon here or is it just me?" And they didn't like that. And so we ended up just calling it whatever. I don't even know. I think they called it like something awesome or something. So we ended up going with that.
See, if I ever have a dry ball special, I'll probably name it. These Mormon fuckers won't let me name what I want to name it.
That's not gonna fly.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that.
But I wanted to ask you like the pros and cons about a dry bar, because my friend Bill Dwyer did a dry bar special and he said that it really helped him, but he also said there's a lot of cons to it.
What was his number one con? I'm curious.
Well, he said that it was a really weird deal because like they would pay for you to film it, and then they wouldn't pay you until they got their money back or something like that.
That is true. So
Okay.
yeah, they basically, it's funny. I'll tell you my favorite con about the dry bar, but for me, it's kind of worked out. So basically, you don't have to put it's kind of a pro and a con at the same time. So you don't have to put up your own money. Like if you were to film your own special, it could cost you $50,000 to film your own special by yourself with your own crew and everything. And then you got to get your own audience, and it's really complicated. And so then you'd be down like your starting money. And then even if you're getting 100% of the money, you got to pay yourself back like your 50 grand. And with dry bar, it's this very like beautifully running machine where like the audience is coming, they know what to expect. It's already set up beautifully. It's lit beautifully. There's not going to be any mistakes. So yeah, you do like when you get your money, they pay themselves off first for the production. But I would say, I don't think it's that much money for production because they already have it set up. I think it's like 20 grand. I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying this, but I feel like it was like, let me show you some of the documents they gave me. But I feel like it's pretty fair, and like what I did was, I would say if you have a special, like you have 1 hour of material that you absolutely love and you want to like put it out, I don't know if I would do it on dry bar. I might do like my own, like something kind of separate or whatever. But if you have I think it's only a half hour. If you have a half hour of like super clean jokes that could be used just kind of for that, I think it's amazing because it's something that I might not do on what I did was I got divorced and I lost so many jokes when I got divorced because I gave her, you lose half of everything. She took the punchlines and I was left with just the setups. Which, I'm just kidding. But I lost so much material because it was like I'm married, and like, I'm not. And so I go, let me just do all my married. I actually pretended I was married for the special and I was divorced, but I go, let me just get all these jokes going. And then my only con for dry bar, which I don't think is that big of a deal, is that like I'm walking through the mall one day with this guy, Josh Sneed. He's another comedian and he has a dry bar. And this couple comes up to us and they go, are you guys Jamie and Josh from Dry Bar? And we're like, yeah. And they go, oh, we love what are you guys doing in town? We go, oh, we're doing a show at the thing or whatever. And they go, oh my God, we can't believe it. And so they bought tickets and they came to the show. And Josh was going first and I was going second. And he did a joke and he said the word ass.
Yeah.
And they angrily walked out. So like, that's the only thing is like people think you're going to be like that clean.
Yeah.
And then you go and just do like it's like that Bob Saget thing, you hear that he was like the dirtiest comic and he was like America's funniest home movies guy. There was a little bit of that, but I mean, it's okay. It doesn't happen all the time. And it's kind of funny. It doesn't hurt anybody.
Well, my dry bar special would be terrible because like I have Asperger's syndrome. So I talk about that pretty much 45 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I could get away with it because they'd be like, hey, you're cursing. I'm like, no, I'm talking about autism.
Right. I know that's what's tough because it is definitely like if you did it, you would have to do like kind of a different set than what is really you. So that is something to think about. I love those guys though. The dry bar guys I feel like they're very fair and very upfront. And when you get like contracts and I usually just sign those without reading. And,
I think every comedian does.
Right? Like there's like pages like, I'm sure it's fine. But they're very fair. I feel like they're really good. And the guy, Keith Stubbs, who was involved with Dry Bar, he owns like a bunch of great clubs called Wise Guys up in Salt Lake. He's a really fair guy. I don't know. Whenever I get like a little bit of money from it, I'm like, oh my God, hell yeah. It's like a little bonus. Yeah. So they really do a good job. They're pros.
Speaking of money, I was thinking we got to get you on Cameo. I think you would be great on Cameo.
Dude, you're not going to believe this. I've been talking to those guys for like months and I just can't make myself. I just keep forgetting to do the introductory video.
Oh my God. I was
Like-
going to
like
say, I would totally buy cameos from you because you're my new favorite comic.
Dude, you get free ones, man. I'm throwing that out to you.
I
Yeah,
was going to say, I could get you on Cameo right now.
I just talked to them and they like whatever approved me, and all I have to do is film a thing. And every time I go to film it, I'm like, I look like shit, or I'm not funny right now. And so I got to get on that, dude. I'll try to do it today before the show.
Yeah. That is the bad sign if like you because you want to film those things when you're in the mood, so the customer gets what they want. Then if you're like
I learn almost everything that I do I tour with Rob Schneider sometimes.
Yeah.
It's been a minute, but we did like a really big tour. That dude, he probably will never be on Cameo because he wouldn't want to charge the money, but like if he I love this move he does. If he's talking to somebody, if he's selling merch or something, and somebody goes, I love you so much. My mom wanted to be here, but she's couldn't make it out. She lives an hour away. He'll go, what's your mom's name? And they go like, oh, Matilda. And he grabs their phone and he presses record and records a message for their mom. He does it all the time. He does it all day long. He does it at supermarket. And so I do that all the time. I started doing that I do the same thing. I love it. Like I love making these little videos for people. Like it's just, I don't know. It's something to do. And so I got to get on that shit, man. What do people, I don't know what to charge though. You got to figure out like if someone's a big star.
well, I charge 15, but I'm a nobody. So, I mean, that's that. And I do pretty good on the Cameo.
Do you do pretty good on the Cameo? Nice, man.
Yeah.
So they go like, what do? They go like, oh, this guy, like this guy's a fan of yours. Could you say hi to him? Or do they say it's his birthday?
I get a lot of breakup requests, like break up with my boyfriend and girlfriend.
Really?
Yeah. So like one like I was like, oh, John, this is from your girlfriend, Julie. She wanted me to say, hey, it's over because she's fucking me.
This is amazing. This is the whole market that you've made to yourself. This is better than Cameo, dude.
So it's a great way to get rejected. Thank you, Cameo.
I could have used you about a month ago.
It's interesting that you bring up Rob Schneider because I have a weird Rob Schneider story, which I think you will think is hilarious.
All right, hit me with it.
Okay. So I toured with Norm Macdonald for about 8 years, and Norm and Rob were really good friends. And I told Norm, like, because, at the time I was writing on his podcast and I was just starting this podcast, and he's like, hey, you should get celebrities on your podcast, I was like, yeah, I would love to get Rob Schneider. He's like, I'll give him a call. So he takes the phone, right? And he dials. The phone rings and Rob Schneider picks up. He's like, hello? Norm takes him off speaker. He's like, hey, Keith, he doesn't want to do your podcast. You're not a celebrity. And then I was like, oh my God. And then Norm goes in the phone. He's like, hey, Rob, will you do my podcast?
Oh God, that's unbelievable. Dude, you must have, I didn't know you toured with Norm for that. Like you knew him. That is so cool, man.
Yeah, he was my best friend. So yeah.
Oh my God.
And then when he died, Alan got promoted.
Okay, well, however you get
into his shoes.
Whatever.
Sandals.
Where was Alan when Norm died? Does anybody know where he was?
Yeah, I know.
That's what a great dude, though, man. What just a special,
wonderful,
what a special guy.
Wonderful guy.
Yeah, and he was, and the cool thing with me is I thought it was the best job because no one was funnier than Norm. No one, I don't think, ever will be funnier than Norm.
Agreed.
So the fact that I got to open for him and learn stuff, I feel very blessed just on that.
So cool, man. He's just he did everything right, and even that special.
Oh yeah.
It's like the perfect ending to this beautiful story. Like it's mysterious and crazy, just like Norm with no crowd, and he's doing a special. Someone calls him in the middle of it. He tells him he's got to call him back. Like,
I keep wondering who was the one who called him. It was either me.
Same thing.
Yeah, it was either me or it was either Jeremy McKernan because we were both his openers at that time.
It couldn't have been Schneider because he would have ignored it.
Well, I will say one thing about Schneider is I do know that because I knew he had cancer. I knew Rob was one of the ones who knew he had cancer too,
Yeah.
because Norm
We're
told me
boys,
he
man.
told Schneider. So, but I wanted to ask you about your radio days because you started off in the radio, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard that you have a Dane Cook story where he hung up on you during an interview.
Oh, yeah. How the hell? Oh, I remember it.
Oh, so that's true. Okay.
It is true, but I have not thought of it since that day, and I'm not even kidding you. I have not thought of that since that day. So Dane Cook has a lot of haters, right? I love that dude. I love Dane Cook. He was one of the first comics I ever saw in LA, and they go, he hadn't done a half-hour special yet. He hadn't done anything, and they go, this guy's making his television debut on Letterman next week. He's trying out a set, and Dane went up and just like destroyed the whole room, and I was like, oh my god, like what is happening? Like he was so good. And then I was on this radio show with this guy, Brother Wheeze, and he's like this old guy, and I could tell you 5 hours of stories about Brother Wheeze. Of a I might tell you the greatest one ever that I've never said out loud. I might just say it. So he's like a super old guy that like, in order to get to sleep at night, he takes some Xanax. He wakes up a little bit groggy. He's not like the best. It was a tough time in my life. I love this man. I do love this man, but it was a bit of a tough. I was the sidekick.
Right. You were like Alan.
Yeah, I was like Alan, exactly. So, and so Dane, you know, we interviewed comedians. That's how I met Schneider, by the way.
Oh,
maybe I'll tell you that story. He just called into our show. Crazy. And then I ended up being on a TV show with him, right? It was nuts. So I'm very grateful to this guy I don't like very much, Brother Weiss. And he, can you edit that part out? Being too honest, I don't know what's happening. I had a cup of honest coffee or something. So Dane Cook calls to promote a date that he's doing in our town at a theater. And I'm psyched. I'm going to go. We're talking to Dane Cook. This is amazing. I just messaged Dane Cook a week ago about something he did on Instagram because I loved it so much. And he's a good dude. And so he calls up and Brother Wheeze goes, hey, Dane, welcome to the show. Hey, it's good to be here. And Brother Wheeze goes, I just want to bring something up, man. I know you're doing the show. We'll get to that. I want to bring something up. I just saw this article today online. It's on the front page of Google. And it says the 10 it was the 10 most overrated, unfunny comedians of all time. And you're number one, Dane. He goes, you're number. He does that to the first thing he says to him. And Dane goes like, why would you bring that up? And he's like, I don't know. I just saw it and I thought you were. And I think Dane was like, you know, just fuck that. He just like hung up. He's like, I'm not doing an interview. You're gonna bring up. Why would he bring that up? He just used to do like crazy things like that.
Yeah.
And make people mad, and I felt so bad. That wasn't the first time. Like I remember when Schneider called, he was promoting a date in town, and what happened was I ended up jumping on the date with him and opening for him. From the phone call, he goes, "Who's the guy in the background?" I was like, "Oh, I'm a huge fan, whatever." He goes, "Come do a set." That's how I met Rob.
Yeah.
But I remember one guy on our show, the producer, was like, "Oh, Rob, I love that bit you used to do about the different ways you can use the word dude. You know, I used to love that bit." And Rob's not one of these guys like, "Oh, I'm not doing, you know," he'll do whatever you want. He'll say you can do it. He'll do whatever it is to make you happy. And so Rob goes, "I'll do the bit for you." And this producer's like, "Oh my God." And he's like, "Dude can mean so many things." He's like, you know, it could mean surprise, like, dude. Or it could be like, "Oh, you banged my girlfriend, dude." It's just hilarious bit, right?
Yeah.
He does 2 seconds of it, and the host guy's like, "Anyway, Rob will be performing." He just cuts him off. A third of the way into this classic bit that this guy had requested, he just always kind of like he didn't quite get he couldn't read the room that good, and a lot of people got mad at us.
He might have had Asperger's too.
It's possible.
I tend to do that, but I always do it in a funny way. Like I wait for the moment. Like I'd be like, "Dude, Rob Schneider's performing tonight." I wanted to ask you, like, because you also produce comedy shows. What was that like, transitioning from comic to writer to producer? Because I don't really know what a producer does.
Dude, if you ever find out, please let me know.
Okay.
Because in television writing, a lot of times it just means because I wrote on Man with a Plan with Matt LeBlanc. I think that's what you're referring to. And I was a producer on that show.
Yeah.
In that world, a lot of times producer just means like there's levels you go in at. So like there's like you know, you have your like story editor, and then you have like you know, these guys, and then as far as the writers, it goes like staff writer would be like level 1, and then it would be like I guess you'd be like a co-producer. It's almost like levels of writers.
Right.
So like I get thrown the producer just because it's almost like a pay rate, and also sometimes it's the order in which you get assigned an episode. So they'll go like executive producer will write the first one. You know, if there's showrunners and they want to write an episode, they'll be even before the EP. Then it'll be like producer, co-producer. I think I'm missing one, but then staff writer. But on that show, to answer your question, I didn't produce shit. I just wrote on the show, and they called me a producer.
Yeah.
I produced jokes like everyone else.
You ever see like some hot chick at a party and you're trying to impress her and you're like, oh, you don't want her to know you're like a huge celebrity or whatever. So you say, hey, I'm a producer.
Yeah.
And then, you hook up with her, and then she sees you at the grocery store and you're like, oh no, I do the produce.
I'm an executive producer.
Thanks for shopping at Ralph's.
Yeah, that was a good job, man. I did actually produce. Like I just did this. We did this movie. Me and Rob Schneider wrote this movie during the pandemic, and we ended up actually getting money and getting it filmed and getting it. It stars Adam Sandler's wife.
Oh, Jackie.
Jackie, and she's just knocked it out of the park. She was so good. Norm was supposed to do it, and before it was right when he was sick, man. He was supposed to. That's a sad thing that we couldn't get him and see him one last time. That makes me sad that we couldn't make that happen. But that movie I actually did produce, which is like you just do everything anyone needs you to do. So like you have to make sure, if we need this car on the set because this guy drives it, you have to make sure like the car is there. Yeah, if something falls through with catering, you jump in and do that. If someone needs to run lines, you go run lines with that person. If someone needs a joke, you run in and write a joke. So like I did produce on that movie. It's sort of like you're like the catch-all guy.
Yeah.
Who solves whatever problems there are. And then you also handle the fruits and vegetables.
The food. The thing about Norm is like I don't think Norm had, even though he was an actor, I don't think he really wanted to do movies and stuff. Like that was not his thing at all. He just wanted to do stand-up. You know what I mean? Yep.
And it doesn't seem like all the stuff he did was to hang out with his friends.
Yeah.
If you look at every movie he did, it was him and like a bunch of buddies. It's like Sandler or
Schneider.
He was in our TV show, and I wasn't in the scene with him. I was standing behind a camera, and I've never ruined a take by laughing in my whole life. And I was literally crying. I was like, tears were. He was ad-libbing in the scene, and I was crying like I was like sobbing. Like I was like, he just like said the funniest thing. We were talking about like a vasectomy, and him and Rob are talking, and Norm's making it sound awful.
Right.
He's like, man, you're getting a vasectomy. He's like, they give you a shot, and it's like right in your balls, But he's like, don't worry. They give you a pre-shot, and so it doesn't hurt as much. And Rob's like, oh, that's good. Where do they give you the pre-shot? He's like, oh, that's in your balls too. It's and on one take, Norm goes, he goes like, oh, you get a shot in the balls, but don't worry, you get a pre-shot. And Rob goes, where's the? He goes, where's the pre-shot? And Norm goes, it's fine. It's they put it in the eye of your cock. Dude, I was laughing so hard, and I was like, but you don't want to ruin it,
Right. Oh, was that your phone? I hope you didn't miss something important.
It was not.
Sorry.
Not my phone.
Oh, it was Alan Lee's phone. Oh, fucker. I was going to be like, I'd feel really bad if Rob Schneider's calling you right now.
You know what's funny, man? When I started this podcast with you, I turned my phone off of Do Not Disturb because I was like, Schneider will probably call me. Because we talk a lot, and I was like, I'll just answer it and we'll talk to him if he calls.
That would be great.
I do that on stage sometimes. I leave my phone on, and if Rob calls, I answer it and I go, hey man, I'm sorry, I'm doing a show. And I go, you want to do a joke? And Rob will do a joke and then hang up.
Yeah.
I do that now and then.
Norm called me a couple times on stage, and like I do that, and then he'd just be like, "Oh, call me after you bomb." So I don't know. But I also wanted to ask you about Star Search, because you came on not the original Star Search, but the remake Star Search. So I wanted to, so like, what was that experience like? Because I felt like the original was a big powerhouse for comedians, and it seemed like the new one didn't really catch on like that.
Yeah, they decided that I was not a star, basically, and they weren't searching for me.
Yeah.
It was I had just done Montreal, and I did like a 5-minute set on Montreal at the New Faces thing, and like I did that on the Tonight Show, and then they just called and said, "Do you want to like do the set on Star Search?" And I was like, "Okay, I don't know." And so I had a bit of a weird experience. Like I felt I had just done the set on Leno, and it did really good. And so I went in there, and they like moved all my jokes around, and I was like, "Guys, I'm telling you, it's gonna be okay." Like I just did this.
Benjamin Bratt laughed.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been approved by the damn Tonight Show guys, but they messed with my set a lot. And I did okay though. I lost to Alonzo Bowden,
Holy Lord.
who's a great comedian, and so I think I lost him by like half a star or something.
Well, that's a good loss though, because he won last
right?
comic standing. You know?
Yeah, not bad. You know, it's a tough show. You're doing like 90 seconds.
Yeah.
You gotta like get in and out.
Now, do you think that that's like really hard? Because I've never done a TV thing like that, but when I do stand up, it seems like you could take as much time as you want, even though if they say you only have 20 minutes, you could take that 20 minutes and make it, you know, like a smooth 20 minutes compared to, hey, you have 90 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny you said that, man. I just did I do this show Gutfeld every like couple of weeks. And you normally do panel and you sit there and make jokes. And they said, "Do you want to do a stand-up set?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" You know, it's got a pretty good viewership, like 2 million people. I go, "Yeah, let me do a stand-up set." And I did it, and it was really fun. Like I was actually one of the best sets I've ever had, like on TV. I was like really comfortable. And after the show, I went on the internet so people to read nice things. So I thought people would say about me, and it was kind of weird. Like a lot of people said, like it was a funny set, but they were like, "Oh, but we kind of like when you're on panel because you can like stretch out," and like it just seemed like too abbreviated. And after reading all the comments, I was like, you know what, man? I don't think I want to do stand up on TV anymore unless it's a half hour.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it anymore because I don't think it's like it really shows. You know, there's comics like that, like Brian Regan. If you see Brian Regan in 5 minutes, he's great. If he does like a Tonight Show, if you see him do an hour, it's like a different guy. That guy, his hour is like this beautiful journey, and it's like this wonderful. And when you do like 5 minutes on a show where like they were just interviewing people, and you're like, "Oh, you're stand up now," and the crowd's like, "What's happening?" I mean, maybe I'll go back on this and I'll be a liar, but I decided just like yesterday, I'm like, I'm not doing sets anymore. Like I'm not gonna do like late night 5-minute sets anymore. I'm gonna do an hour. And I'm gonna try to do like a special or something. Like I would love to do that, but I was like, I don't like the abbreviated nature of it, and that you can't like if a guy in the crowd says something on TV, you just have to like do your 5 minutes. I don't like that. I want to be able to, if someone says something, I want to like let's pause this shit and talk to this guy. I want it to be like a more organic. So I don't think I'm gonna do any short sets on TV anymore. I don't think I like it.
Well, I agree, and that's why I think podcasters are eventually, if they haven't already, I think that they're going to replace the late night guests, because I feel 45 minutes to an hour, you could actually get to know the artist, whoever, compared to 5 minutes, and you're like, oh, this guy's just promoting a movie. You know what I mean? Like I think it makes it more likable if you know who they are a little.
Dude, completely. And like this Gutfeld show I do, you're on for the whole hour. And they come to you 5 times. There's 5 blocks, 5 stories. You have a joke for each one. And on that show, it's come out that I'm from Alaska. I'm divorced. I am, I always make jokes that I suck on stage. It's like become this character that I kind of do. Sometimes not even a character, and I actually suck. But it's like become this thing that people like know me from. And I can't even tell you, man, like even compared to when I did the Real Rob show on Netflix, the people that come out to my shows now, I've never had this happen, like where a lot of people come see me do comedy. It's crazy. And like this old dude came up to me last night and he goes, I know this is going to sound weird, but I just want to tell you something. And he goes, I feel like you and I are friends. He goes, I feel like I know you. And he goes, I know we don't know each other. And he's like, but you're like on TV hanging out. Like, I guess what I'm saying is like, you're so right about the podcast. And the show I do is almost in between like the 5-minute late night set and the podcast. It's like really hanging out, talking about yourself, sharing your views on things. And I think it really connects with people more than, you know, I did a ton of late night sets. I probably did 11 late night sets. No one's ever come to my show and gone, I saw you on the Tonight Show, so I came to your show. I mean, like maybe 2 people, but this thing where they really get to know you, it's wild. I just absolutely love it that and then they come see you and they already know the context of your life and you don't have to prove you're funny. They already like think you're funny.
Yeah.
Relax a little bit and tell more, you know, you don't have to worry about coming right out of the gate so people don't, you know, so people think you're funny. So it's really interesting.
Well, see, I feel that's the worst. Like when you're doing, you know, because you're a headline, you know, you're a headliner. I'm just a feature headliner. Like I could headline if I have to, but I usually just feature. So like I'm always under the pressure where I feel I either have to be funny or if I'm not funny, the headliner has it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So,
I know what you mean.
So I don't know how that translates, but I feel like that's why where it's like I don't think I would ever want to do, even though it's my dream to do a late night set, I don't think I would be happy doing it.
Right. Yeah. And it's good to have it's good to not just do things because that's what everybody does.
Yeah.
It's good to not, like, I mean, I had friends tell me I almost didn't do stand up on that show last week. And I had friends that were like, you're crazy, dude. Like, it's a late night spot. The show's beating Fallon and Kimmel. Like, why wouldn't you do stand up again? And I was like, I don't know, just because I don't feel like it. Like you said, I want to feel awesome at the end of whatever I do.
Yeah.
I don't want to be nervous or have it come across wrong. And dude, I open for Schneider still, for Rob Schneider sometimes, and I totally get that opener thing. It's really interesting, but man, do you learn how to be a good comic from that? Because there are times when I am on stage and I can see people looking at their watches, waiting for when Rob Schneider is going to come out there because he's the reason they're there. And we do a 2-man show, and so sometimes I'm doing like 35 minutes. Like,
Right.
that's a long ass time to wait for,
Rob Schneider.
like say you go see, you buy tickets to go see Avatar, and then they play some other shitty movie for 25 minutes where you get to see your movie. But it's a good learning experience. Like it makes you bulletproof.
Does Rob ever play tricks on you? Like if you bring him up, like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, make it loud for Rob Schneider. And then like, he just doesn't show up for 10 minutes.
So he wouldn't do that on purpose, but I was on stage once in Atlantic City at the Borgata Casino.
Uh-huh.
And they told me to do 30 minutes. They go, we're going to give you a bright red light. And then we're going to, that'll mean you can wrap it up. Okay. I just met Rob. I was very nervous. And I went up and I did my thing. And it was going pretty good. And I get a red light. I go, they didn't tell me how long I was doing. They just said it. So I was nervous. So they give me, I see a red light. I go, and I go, okay, guys, ladies and gentlemen, Rob Schneider. There's just nobody there. And I'm like, Rob Schneider. And so I kind of walk off to the side and the stage manager goes, yeah, Rob's, I think he was like he's on the phone or something. He's like, you got to do like 10. And I'm like, the fuck is going on? Like, why did they give me that? And so I do 10 more minutes. I wait till Rob comes out. I introduce him. Dude, some lady was setting up a video camera and she pressed the wrong button and it just flashed a red light. Those people shouldn't even work there.
Right.
This lady gave me a light that didn't even work. She was just like videotaping. Her friend was doing a thing and she was just trying to set. And you press like the demo mode and it like goes there. It just like flashed a red light. And I was like, that's my time, everybody. And it wasn't related to me at all.
And it totally fucks you over because, I mean, accidents do happen, given to, her defense. It might have been an accident.
Yeah.
But I've been on so many shows where it seems like, okay, hey, you're doing 25. They'll light you at 20 because they want you out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what the fuck? Just tell me to do 20.
Right. Yeah. I do not like, if you want me to do an hour, I'm good.
Right.
But if you were to say, do a half hour, and then when I was at 25 minutes, you said, hey, give us another 35 minutes, I would go, no, I can't. Like, I need to know before I go up what we're doing. I can't. Yeah. I don't like to stretch. I need to know that I have to have a plan going in.
Stretch is like the worst fucking thing because when I filmed my hour special, I only had 45 minutes of good material. So I could do crowd work and stuff for an hour. And then the director, he's like, hey, I want you to do an hour, 10 minutes so you could stretch. And I was like, why? He's like, because I need stuff to cut. I was like, but then that just threw me off because it's like,
Yeah.
it's just wasting my time. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to do a good special.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
I don't need to put,
wacky.
I don't need to put 10 minutes of knock jokes in here.
Right. I forgot who the comic was, but he would. I remembered, but I'm not going to say his name. He sticks to his contract. Like he's supposed to do 45 minutes. That's what he's doing. I'm not good at that. Like if they go, we need you to do. I'm like, all right, this guy like is a real good businessman, and he was on stage once at the Hartford Funny Bone or Improv, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was like in the back of the room, and he was like, he gave him like the stretch sign. And the guy was like, no. He said no. He just said no to the stretch sign. And the guy goes, the waitresses aren't, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, not my problem. Not my problem. I do 45 minutes. And he finished up his set. And it was fine. They just passed out, people were there for an extra 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I admire guys that have like, I just want everyone to be happy. And I will make myself unhappy to make sure everyone. And I just really admire guys that go like, no, I'm not stretching. That's not happening.
One of the bad things about opening for Norm is like, that's another thing you and I have in common because like, you bring up Schneider a lot. I bring up Norm a lot, but that they're part of us. You know what I mean? So, it's part of our career. But so one of the bad things about opening up for Norm is like, there will be times where Norm, just to fuck with people, he'll do like 2 hours on the 7 o'clock show. Like literally. And then, so the 7 o'clock show ends at like 10:50, you know what I mean? And then he'd be like, man, I feel bad for the 10 o'clock show. And you're like, why? He's like, because those fuckers aren't getting out till 3. You're like, wow.
Amazing. He's a legend, man. Legend.
So I wanted to ask you, what's like the advice you have from, because you're no longer an opener anymore, but you still feature for Rob. What's the advice you have from featuring to make that jump from featuring to headline?
Oh man, I would say it's okay to headline. I would just be careful like where you choose to. There's a lot of clubs where you could just go ahead and headline, and there's not a lot of risk for anybody. Like maybe you work like the side room in a town that has an improv, but there's like a weekend room. I'm a big believer in just doing it. Like if I waited until I was ready to headline, I would never headline.
Okay.
Like I think you kind of at some point have to throw yourself in there. And it's almost one of those things where the market will tell you what to do. Like the market will tell you, like you're featuring and headliners don't want to go after you and they don't want to hire you anymore because you're doing too good. And and so then the club will go, hey, next time you should headline. Like it almost kind of happens organically. Did you guys hear that beep? That was me getting a text message.
I think that was from Rob.
I don't know how to turn it off, or I would. I'll tell him.
It's fine. I totally get it.
Okay. But yeah, man, I would just say, I think there's like no rush. And at every stage, I tried to get like almost like as good as I could possibly get at that position where every club I went to would go, oh my God, dude, you're like the best feature we've ever had. Like, I always want to be like one of the best. And I didn't want to headline I didn't want to just do it to say I was a headliner. I wanted to like make sure I was really ready. But I mean, we all at some point get your first headlining thing and you're like, holy shit, like I am not ready for this. But if you have
remember that, yeah. It's like scary the first couple times you do it. You're like, fuck.
It's crazy. But you have to make that jump. And I think I did a lot of I did the Tonight Show in 2001 when I only had 25 minutes of material, and they started booking me to headline, like kind of like weekend rooms or even like some one-nighters, whatever, where I could, learn on the job. I didn't think there's nothing wrong with that. I say like if a club wants you to headline, I say you don't hold yourself back and go for it and get uncomfortable and do it. And I just went from, because I was a headliner, then I went to an opener for Rob. I like went back back to being an opener. And then now that I'm back on the road, it's interesting because when people come to see your show, as opposed to you're just like the headliner that week, when they're like, oh, they're coming paying just for you. Now you do an hour. Like when I headlined before, it was 45 minutes. And so the new thing for me is like, oh, wow, I do an hour now, which is a lot more than, it's like significantly more than 45. It's not just 15 minutes. It's like a whole different thing. And so I say just get uncomfortable. And if somebody, you know, I also think that you really start, like when I have guys open for me and they just like, I go, dude, you have to stop doing this. You're too good. You know, like you got a headline, man. Like I think you start hearing from everybody.
Yeah.
You move up.
Well, I had 2 more questions for you. Do we have enough time for that?
Yeah, man.
Because I think Alan has one more too. Alan, you want to ask yours first?
I just, you know me, I have stuff rolling around and you know, the Alaska deal, it's like a frontier Alaska.
Yeah.
And you know, where the miners and the 40, you know, the 49 deal and everything. Do you feel like that frontier spirit has embedded itself in you in your living there?
Yeah, you know what, man? It's the most inconvenient, like career-wise, it couldn't possibly be more inconvenient, right? Like it's as far away as you can possibly get from comedy, from like the show I do in New York City. All that just sucks, right?
Yeah.
But what you just said, it really rings true. Like it's the greatest people. It's like real people. And what's fun is too, like they don't give a shit who I am.
Right.
Like they don't care. Like there's a couple people that go like, oh, you're on that show. It's just like these normal people. And I think I love that I don't live in LA or New York. I think I love it. And my kids go to like a normal
nice
school with not a lot of people. And like, dude, and it's tough people. When you're a kid in Alaska, it has to be below 20 degrees below zero to not make them go outside for recess.
Wow.
So at 19 below, your kid still goes outside. So it makes these tough dudes. And people, there's a lot of pride. I think a lot of Alaskans have pride. I don't know if I count myself. I feel like I'm just like a bit of an outsider. I don't like hunt or, you know, I don't fish or, you know, I don't do a lot of the guy stuff. So I feel a bit like a poser sometimes, but I do love it. I do love the energy there. Absolutely.
So basically you just stay in your igloo and write jokes.
The eagle material came out so quickly.
You do see some bald eagles, man. It's pretty wild. You do see a lot of cool shit there.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, well, this question isn't what I want to ask you, but do you feel like you're the biggest celebrity in Alaska? Like,
it's possible.
I
will say it's a small pond. It's a small pond to be the big fish in. But it's like being, it is like a small. I'm trying to think if there's anybody who people
semi-close.
They don't even attempt to like do, you know, like nobody gives a shit. They don't want you to know who they are so much so they wear camouflage. They didn't want to be but it's getting there, man. It's getting to where like I don't dress very nicely. I dress like very casually, but it has gotten to where I'm like, all right, I probably shouldn't wear those sweatpants with the stain near my dick.
Yeah.
People might know who I started like doing a little more self-care before I leave the house, you know, maybe, so might be.
Now,
I want the number one comedian in Fairbanks, Alaska. Could be true.
I wanted to ask you, like, when you hire openers for you and stuff, like, do you when you search for that, do you look at people who reflect on how you were when you're starting out, like, you know what's going up like that, or do you pick someone completely opposite from you?
It's an interesting question. I'm dealing with this right now, actually, because I have a couple of openers that I love, and they're friends of mine. And a lot of times I pick openers I'm doing projects with. So if we're working on a script, I like to have a guy that's going to make me get up and work on shit. I have a lot of trouble being on the road, like alone mentally, like a lot of trouble. And so
very lonely too.
Oh, dude, it's really tough. Sometimes I have a hard time. And so sometimes I bring people with me that I know will help me mentally and go like, dude, we're going for a walk. We're going to work on this thing. Like, get out of your room. So I have a couple guys that are like really good at that. But what's funny is both my guys couldn't work the last 2 weekends. They were both busy. And so the last 2 weeks I've had female openers, and damn, man, it's pretty nuts. Like, they're so different than me. It really made me realize, like, wow, I love my buddies, but we do talk similarly because we're from the same area. Some of the jokes we do, we're both married guys like we do hit on the same stuff. And I'm watching these girls and I'm like, wow, holy shit. Like, it's so different that I might have to fire my friends, I guess is what I'm saying. And I think I like the differentness. I really feel like I get out there and I go, wow, none of my nothing I'm gonna say is gonna be similar to what this girl just did. I worked with two of the funniest girls, man. Kelly Colette is one of them, out of Cincinnati, and this girl Janelle, I don't know her last name, but she's Janelle Jokes on Instagram. Just refreshing, man. Just like real, just killer. So I guess I kind of like. Oh, and I got this other guy. I feel like an asshole. His name's Simon. He's opening for me too in Ontario. It's a 3-person show, and he's very different than me. He's doing like these music things, and like he's really loud, and like I love that too. So to answer your question, if you had asked me 5 days ago, I would have said I bring my friends that keep me mentally stable and are kind of similar to me. But as of this weekend, I think it might work better if everybody's a little bit different.
Well, if I would have asked you 5 days ago and I didn't have surgery, I would have said, hey, Jamie.
So, dude, did you work with Norm? Did he do any clubs, or was he just straight up theaters, like when you were opening for him, or did you do both?
We did mostly clubs. He didn't like doing theaters.
Oh, okay, I mean completely.
So,
and then what did you guys? We got to do another podcast where I just ask you about Norm. What did you guys do during the day? Is he the kind of guy where you wouldn't see him until showtime, or was it like, hey, tomorrow we're gonna go do stuff?
It depends on the city. If you talk about Vegas, Norm would literally be at the poker table for 20 hours. And I remember one time, like, I'm stalling on stage, and I was like, he's at the poker table. Is at South Point. You guys gotta go.
Oh my God.
So like, you couldn't get him away from poker.
Wow.
And then like, if we did like New York or, something like that, he liked going to movies and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and then other than that, it was just sitting in the hotel room and just writing. He kept saying that. He's like, we got to write for my new show. And the show would never come. You know what I mean? But like,
yeah, but he would have you over. He would go, I want you here. Let's write some stuff. That's so cool, man.
Like we wrote for the podcast, and like that was, I thought, the hardest job I ever had, because I'm competing with other writers, and like my relationship with Norm was so unique and special. I don't know how his relationship with the other writers were, so I can't speak on that. But like, he got the jokes that I was pitching, and the other writers didn't. You know what I mean?
Yes, completely.
So it was like kind of like, I'm trying to impress these writers, when if I just text to Norm will put it on the show. So why am I going through you fuckers? You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I've had that exact experience
many
times, like where you're hired on a staff and like the star of the show is my guy. and you're like, guys, I promise you, just tell him my thing, or I'll send it to him myself,
Yeah.
So when you wrote for the podcast, so was there a podcast and a YouTube show and a Netflix show? Or was the podcast the same as the YouTube show?
The podcast was the same thing as a YouTube show. And then when we went on the Netflix show, technically it was the same thing, but we moved it to a Netflix show.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like the guidelines were still technical, the same, how to write. Like that's how I wanted it written, just like the podcast.
Dude, do you remember when I was on an airplane? I booked a late flight. I had a middle seat in an airplane, and I was watching Norm interview Drew Barrymore, either on the YouTube show or the Netflix show. And she said,
"It was a Netflix show." It was about the cocaine. Like he's like, "Do you miss cocaine?"
Yeah. And then he said something about like, "What's your life purpose or whatever?" And she said, "When I die," I'll probably butcher this, but she goes, "When I die, I want my friends to gather around and say that I did something special and that I contributed this to the world." And Norm said, when I die, I want my friends to gather around me and bring me the fuck back to life.
We tried doing that.
It might be the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life that anyone has ever said. And I was in this middle seat, and I just remember like just shaking, laughing. And I had to tell the two people, they were like, what are you watching? And I had to explain to them, I'm like, holy shit, man. I go, this guy just said the funniest thing I've ever heard. And I told the people sitting next to me because I was like losing my mind laughing.
So I'll tell you this story before I ask my last question. So one time we had Spade on, and Norm was interviewing Spade, and then so it was some stupid, question about Star Search or something like that. And so Norm was like, no, it was about getting into the Comedy Store of Mitzi's store. And then like right after 5 minutes of it, Norm was like, fuck, they didn't record it. Can you say it again? The exact same way. And Spade's like, wait, are you serious? He's like, yeah, man. Like, I'm sorry. So Spade's like, okay. So he did it again, right? And then Norm's like, fuck, they didn't record that one too. So he made him do it like 3 times. And he's like, I was just kidding. We got the first time.
Unbelievable.
I thought Spade was going to murder him.
That is so funny. Holy shit.
Like, that's how much of a genius he was, because like he didn't care about being a talk show host. He just wanted to make people laugh. You know what I mean?
Dude,
So,
that is so funny. Oh my God.
So my last question for you, Jamie, is this. How do you go when you're writing bits with your children? Does it do you feel like maybe if you say certain stuff, it might hurt their feelings, or do you like sugarcoat it?
Damn it, man. That's a great question. I just did, I did this joke for a little bit about where I said, like, I have 3 kids, and sometimes people will ask me, do you have a favorite kid? And then I go like, and parents, you guys know you're not supposed to have like a favorite kid. And I go, but I do have one. And I go, I'll just tell you, it's my neighbor's kid.
Yeah.
And
it's a great joke.
What's funny is when they became, it happened really quickly, but when they became like where they could like watch me on TV, it just hit me all at once that like, oh my God, I got to talk to them about this.
Yeah.
And make sure they know it's a joke. But I'm trying to think of what I have in my act that like, they really, really get my sense of humor like no one on earth. I mean, like nobody else. Like my little guy isn't quite there yet, but like my 13-year-old son and my 11-year-old daughter, they like really, really, really get my humor. And so I don't know if anything they would go like, oh, why would he like what? I think they just get like that it's all kind of like making jokes and things like that. I would definitely worry though.
Yeah.
So I know a comedian who went on stage and said like, my daughter graduated first in her class in rehab or something. And then his daughter like saw it online or something. And it like didn't even occur to him. He was just like writing a joke. Sometimes we just write jokes. You're not trying to hurt anyone's feelings.
Yeah.
And then when it came, he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, why would I? It just occurred to me. I was on stage and I said it. I didn't plan it out. And then, so you do have to be careful. Yeah. But I would definitely worry about that. Not as much before I had kids or when they were really young. I didn't get it. Now I really get it. They are my priority over it. Just like almost nothing else matters besides your kids. Do you have any kids, Keith?
No, I don't. But the reason why I asked that is because I did a different podcast where the other guests, like I was one of the other guests. This other guest was just talking about his kids, and he was saying like his 17-year-old daughter's like the biggest slut in the world. You know what I mean? And he's trying to be funny. And I just looked at him. I was like, do you really look at your daughter like that? Because I mean, that's great that she's a slut and all, but like,
right.
Like,
yeah, that's
kind of over, you know what I mean?
Yeah, completely. Yeah,
so,
I don't even like when guys are like, my son's stupid. He's the dumbest motherfucker. I'm just like, I don't know, guys. Like someday, in this world we live in, someday it's going to be available online when they're older and they're going to have friends and I care so much about that stuff, but I will admit, I didn't get a lot of this when I was younger. I used to drink a lot and I just wanted to make people laugh and make my comedian friends laugh. And I said some stuff that I would be so embarrassed if somebody was able, thank God there was no like
YouTube and
internet
cameras
Yeah,
and shit.
nothing horrible. But I remember we would just go for the laughs, and
Mhm.
stuff like that is so important to me, man. My God, that would kill me if one of my kids ever said like, "Ah, it hurts my feelings." I would quit comment. I mean, I would quit. I would stop. I mean, it's like it's that important to me.
Especially since like we live in a whole world where like anti-bullying, where like it could be considered as bullying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, completely.
So
Yeah, dude.
well,
Have some kids though, man. I couldn't recommend that more. It's really great.
first I gotta find a lady friend.
I don't even think it's that important.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no. Yeah, but if it comes up, I could not recommend to everybody. It's the craziest thing in the world. It's like it would be like if like there's a color in your crayon box and you like didn't know it existed, so you don't miss it. But it would be like if somebody said like, "Yeah, we're gonna take blue away," you'd be like, "Fucking blue! I love blue." You know, like it like creates this thing in your life that you didn't know about before it happened, and it's like
We just got a Twitter question: was blue the color or the bear?
Oh.
Oh my God. Dude, you guys have a great podcast, by the way. I was telling Keith, I listened to a couple episodes before I came on, and
Oh,
you guys
fantastic.
got a real good vibe. I was psyched to do it.
Thank you.
Well, Jamie, where can the folks at home follow you and support you?
So my address is 190. No, I'm just kidding.
Igloo Boulevard.
You're right, dude. I could give my address and no one would come over. I could give you my exact address. We'd be like, I can't.
Except for our crazy Alaska stalker fans.
Right, that's true. So I do a lot of Instagram, dude. Real quick, I'm on Twitter at Jamie_Lissow. I wanted to make it really difficult to find, and then on Instagram I'm at I am Jamie Lissow. My Twitter got hacked.
Oh.
I was verified. I had like 100,000 nice people following me. It got hacked by this brilliant hacker. He was there's a crypto guy named Jamie something, right? This guy's name, and I don't know his last name. This guy hacks my account. I'm on an airplane. I get a message. Someone's trying to log into your account. I can't make it stop because I'm on an airplane and the Wi-Fi is not working correctly.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my God. He gets a hold of my account. He puts a picture of him, of the crypto guy. Guy's name is Jamie. It's actually Jamie. So he impersonates this guy. I'm verified. He steals all this money from people.
Oh my God.
He steals all this money. They think it's really him. It'd be like if Elon Musk said, like, hey, you want to invest in it? And you're like, wow, it's verified. This is the guy. He stole all this money. And then it was terrible. When I landed, it got taken care of. But in that 3 hours, I feel so bad because I could see the DMs from people like, is this really not you? And so I lost all my Twitter followers. So I joined Twitter like 2 weeks ago. But,
is that why Rob unfollowed you?
Rob does not follow me on Twitter right now. No one follows me. But
I follow you. I love you.
Oh, thank you, man. But I'm climbing back up. I just got to 4,000 followers, and I'm psyched. So it's kind of a fun experiment. But I'm so sorry to everyone that was robbed because of that guy. I did everything I could.
Yeah. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for doing my podcast. And like I said, you are my new favorite comic, and it really meant a lot to me to
That's so
talk.
nice, dude. Hell yeah. Where do you live?
Orange County.
All right, man. Well, what's your closest improv? Is it like Brea?
Irvine. I mean, Ontario is only an hour away. I was actually going to go this weekend to support you, but I had surgery, so I can't walk.
Shit, dude. Hey, man, I'm sure I'm going to put Irvine in the books.
Okay.
Ontario could not have gone better with ticket sales and shows. So I feel like Irvine will be up, and we'll get you out there, man. We'll have you come out.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would mean a lot to me.
Hell yeah.
All right, Jamie. Well, have a great day and have a great show tonight, pal.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Take care. Good to chat with you.
All right. All right. That was the show. Subscribe, rate, review. Alan, did you have fun?
I had a great time. It was, boy, I tell you, we have people and they like us and we like them. And he was wonderful.
Yeah.
He
was great. So, yeah, these interviews I feel are the ones that really matter because I feel they make me a better comic. You know what I mean?
Me too. As I've told you, if you wanted to have your own comedy school,
this would be it. Comedy Store with Keith and Alan. Today's teacher, Jamie Lissow, he's gonna talk to you about the comedy.
Guest teacher is
guest teacher. Next week's guest teacher, Tommy Chung. He's gonna talk to you about smoking that marijuana.
And the next special guest teacher will be Andy Dick.
He's gonna talk to you about getting arrested and fucking denying you what you do.
I may even talk about Dick.
Yeah. Well, Alan, I love you, buddy. Have a good day. I'm gonna get some rest, and I'll talk to you later.
Beautiful. Peace out.
Bye. Bye.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.